Today, we're diving into the rulebook for what has to be one of the most hostile environments on the planet, a massive offshore oil and gas facility. It's basically a city at sea, floating on an ocean of fuel. And this is the plan to keep it from becoming a floating inferno.
So let's just start with the biggest question right off the bat. How in the world do you design for safety in a place that's jam-packed with flammable stuff, high-pressure equipment, and hundreds of people, all while being isolated miles and miles from any help? I mean, where would you even begin?
Well, for a company like Saudi Aramco, the answer starts right here, in a seriously dense engineering standard called SAES-B-009. These standards, they're basically the collected wisdom of an entire industry, all written down as strict, non-negotiable rules. You can think of this document as the DNA of safety. It's the blueprint for stopping a disaster before a single piece of steel is ever welded.
To really get why these rules are so important, you first have to appreciate the risk. An offshore platform isn't just some factory, right? It's a whole world in a tiny space. You've got living quarters, power plants, and massive industrial facilities all crammed together. It is absolutely the ultimate high-stakes environment.
The whole safety strategy is built in layers, and the first, most basic layer of defense is all about one thing: prevention. It's about using something as simple as distance and a smart layout to keep a small problem from turning into a full-blown catastrophe.
The core idea here is really simple. The best fire is the one that never even gets a chance to start. And this isn't about crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. It's about using deliberate, intelligent design to engineer that risk of fire down to the absolute minimum. And the rules start with this really powerful concept: distance. A minimum of 45 meters, that's almost half a football field, is required between the place where people sleep and the areas where hydrocarbons are processed. That buffer zone is the first and, honestly, the most critical line of defense.
And that logic of keeping things separate, it scales all the way down to the individual pieces of equipment. There has to be a 7.5-meter gap between utility gear, think air compressors or transformers, and anything with hydrocarbons in it. The goal couldn't be simpler: keep any potential sparks far, far away from the fuel. And it's not just about spreading things out side to side. The rules actually go into 3 dimensions. Vents that might release flammable gases have to end at least 3 meters above any spot where people could be walking or working. It's a simple rule, but it's designed to push any potential danger up and away from the crew.
Okay, so let's move on to the next layer in this system. Because even with the best possible layout, you still have to plan for that moment when prevention fails. This is the active response. This is what happens when a fire actually does break out.
The best way to think about this is like the platform's own immune system. It's this automated network of sensors and weapons designed to detect and attack a fire instantly. And it uses the one resource it has an absolutely infinite supply of: the ocean. And all of this happens in just seconds. Electronic detectors sense the fire, a signal automatically triggers these massive deluge valves, and then a torrent of seawater and a special foam is just unleashed on the target. It's designed to be way faster and way more powerful than any human response could ever be. But here's the thing: you can't fight an oil fire with just water. That's where this stuff comes in: aqueous film-forming foam, or AFF. When you mix it with seawater, it creates this kind of chemical blanket that floats on top of burning liquids, cutting off the oxygen and smothering the fire in a way that water just can't. Now, this whole system is built to be fail-safe. You've got your main electric pumps to handle huge demand, and then smaller jockey pumps that keep the pipes pressurized and ready to go 24/7. But the most critical part? A completely independent diesel-driven pump. So even if the entire platform loses power, it can still fight the fire. But there's a third and final layer. This is the one you hope you never, ever need. It's the plan for when prevention has failed and suppression isn't enough. And it's all about one thing: getting every single person to safety. The whole philosophy here is that there can never be just one way out. It's non-negotiable. Every single person on that platform has to have multiple, clear, and protected routes to an evacuation point. Survival just cannot be left to chance. And the rulebook gets incredibly specific about this. It mandates a minimum of four stairways or ladders between each level of a manned platform. And that's just the beginning. You also have bridges, boat landings, helidecks, and as a last resort, these fully enclosed escape capsules. It's all about redundancy.
And hidden inside all these technical standards are these little details that reveal their true human purpose. For example, a main stairway has to be at least 1.22 meters wide. You might wonder why that exact number. Well, it's the minimum width you need to carry an injured person out on a stretcher. Every single rule is written with a life in mind.
And the planning for the absolute worst-case scenario even has its own safety margin built in. The escape capsules have to have enough space for 120% of the platform's normal crew. That accounts for visitors or maybe extra workers, making sure the system is designed to save not just everyone who should be there, but everyone who could be there.
So, when you zoom all the way out, what's the real takeaway from a rulebook like this?
It's really this. Safety on this kind of scale is never, ever an accident. It's a meticulous, multi-layered system where every single component is designed to work together, to prevent, to suppress, and ultimately to survive the worst-case scenario.
It really comes down to this three-pronged strategy. First, you prevent the fire with intelligent spacing. If that fails, you respond instantly with an automated flood of water and foam. And if all else fails, you provide clear, redundant paths for everyone to escape.
So that's the plan for one tiny steel city out at sea. But it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other invisible rulebooks, ones that are just as detailed and just as vital, are quietly working in the background to keep all of us safe every single day?
If you enjoyed this, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel, How to Do It. Search for us at How to Do 5 for even more interesting content.